Hello and good evening tonight. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Our Friday football show tonight. Coming off the back of a very busy week here at Epic with all our podcasts. Just want to thank you again for tuning in tonight and for your support throughout the past number of weeks. To be honest, we are in company tonight of Lee Clark and current Newcastle United midfielder Sean Longstaff. So thank you very much indeed for that. For the guys coming on, we're incredibly thankful for them giving up their time tonight. And as always, please ping in your questions. I will do my utmost to try and get through as many as we can. So I say the guys will be joining us hopefully in the next few seconds. And just as I on cue, Lee Clark, Sean Longstaff, good evening. How are you, man?
Evening, Brian. How are you?
No, all good.
Good, thanks. How are we keeping? All good?
All good, all safe and well at the moment. And hopefully things are starting to ease down in the situation that we're in.
Good. Back by popular demand, Clarky. Popular demand after your debut a few weeks ago, mate.
That must have been the family just asking for that, Brian. Wife and kids.
No, Sean, thank you so much indeed for giving up your time tonight. I appreciate that you're back in training and stuff. So I do appreciate your time tonight. How you been? All right?
Yeah, all good. Just the same. Staying safe and happy to be back playing football, to be fair. It's been a while.
Yeah, it certainly has. And Clarky, June 17th, Premier League announced yesterday, game's going to certainly filter back in. Given the fact that obviously with the testings this week, do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing, or do you think it's something that had to happen?
I personally believe it was something that had to happen. I don't know the full ins and outs of it. That's one of the questions I would like to ask Sean, going forward about since they've been back in training when they first came back, what was the different scenarios they faced in terms of the testing when they were in small groups, what type of work they've done. They've now progressed to full contact training. So that would be the interesting thing for me, from the next player or manager looking in now and wanting to know how they've had to deal with this. Obviously they've had a training schedule that they've had while they've been away from the training base that they've had to adhere to, but we all know, and Sean will back this up, that's all good and well, but it's a completely different fitness program that you need for football in terms of playing football matches, and you need to have that contact, you need to have that 11v11 game situation scenarios where you can get ready for football matches. So, I mean, Sean, just to start the show off, really, what was it like when you first went in? How often have you been tested? And what was the scenario? How many numbers were you working with, and when you first come back to training, and what's it like now being in full contact?
To be fair, we're getting tested twice a week now, so it's normally Monday, Thursday we'll go in, get tested, get our results the next day, really. And then it was weird, to be honest, going in, and I think there was 8 of us, or I think there was 7 actually, 7 midfield players, and you go in and you want to just go up to your teammates and have a bit of crack, but you've got to sort of stay away, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but like anything, you just adapt to it. And to be honest, a lot of the sessions were running, so you didn't really have to be close to anyone anyways. But like I said, it's probably the safest place we can be, to be honest. The second we get there, we've got our own parking spaces to be in. The doctor's there ready to take your temperature if it's over a certain obviously if it's over a certain temperature, you're not allowed out the car, you've got to go home. But to be fair, like I said, it's probably the safest place we can be, and to be back training now in full contact is brilliant. It's what everyone's sort of been gearing up for, and it's like we've never been away, really. People are smashing each other in training, and you don't really think about it too much. So it's been great.
How do you feel fitness wise in terms of football fitness? Because you'll know, obviously, when you've come to the end of the season, you have that break and you come back for the new season in pre-season, you're fit because you're elite athletes, but you need that little bit extra edge to be ready for the football. Where do you feel you're at the moment in terms of football fitness?
In terms of football fitness, I think it's like anyone, you need to sort of play games and be on the pitch, playing at that tempo and at that speed to be able to be ready, really. I think everyone kept pretty fit while we're off, and we came back and had the running tests, and everyone had really good scores. But even the last couple of days training, we've done a few little game type scenarios, and there's a few people blowing a little bit after sort of 15, 20 minutes, but it's going to take time to get back into it. But I think for me, I'm pretty fit, so hopefully it doesn't take too long to get back to where I was.
Yeah, I think you personally won't find it difficult. You're a very good athlete. It's one of the strong points of your game, your fitness levels, which is really crucial for a midfield player. So I don't think from your personal point of view it'll be a big issue for you. I've obviously been watching the Bundesliga. I don't know if you've took in any of the games, but I just see that obviously you haven't got the crowds, which is a big factor, especially when you play for a club like Newcastle United, and the crowd get behind you massively in your home games, as me and you well know. But also the intensity of some of the games in the Bundesliga, the contact, the tackling, the speed of tackling, the speed of movement just hasn't seemed quite there at the moment. I know, and I fully understand the games have to be played for the integrity of the competition, and I'm glad it's going to. When COVID first came in, I wasn't actually for playing games behind closed doors, but this is the best scenario of a bad situation. So I'm glad that there's a process in place, and we've got these final dates when the games will be coming on, and obviously the excitement of being able to watch live football again is great as well.
Hey, Sean, obviously just like Clark, local lad, come through the system, and you got in, Rafa gave you your debut, and you've been on to play several games, When you got in, and obviously you're stayed in, what for you would you find that was the big difference that you noticed straight away from coming from academy football? I know obviously Clarkey had you on loan up in Scotland, but what was the most noticeable factor being a Premier League, being in that environment? You know what I mean, for a young lad just learning his trade, mate.
To be honest, I think it started with training. To be honest, I think that the higher levels you go, if you make mistakes or if you give the ball away, everything's sort of magnified. Especially in under 23 football, you can take risks and you can do whatever, and there's no real consequences for it, to be honest. But as soon as you step into a first team dressing room or a first team game where everything matters, and obviously you need to do everything properly, and mistakes cost people livelihoods in a way. That was the biggest thing for me, was having to get to that level quickly, or in that sort of mindset to where you've got to be the same way. But I think for me, the big thing when I got through at Newcastle was I'd been training for 4 or 5 months with the first team, and to be honest, I thought I could have played earlier. I felt I was ready, and but Rafa he sort of threw us in at the perfect time, and for me, it was just about going out and enjoying it, and sort of being in a situation where you've wanted to be your whole life. It's the one opportunity you've asked for. And I remember, I think it was before Chelsea, I think I made my first start. I just sort of said, this is what you've asked for your whole life. It's up to you now whether you sort of take it. And for me, it was just about being brave. And I just sort of loved every second of it since, to be honest. There's nothing I'd rather be doing than playing football, and especially for Newcastle.
Yeah, and obviously Clarkey took you up to Scotland. I'm sure that was a massive learning for you as well. And the gaffer, was he hard on you, Sean? Was he?
To be honest, you were great with me. I kind of thank you enough for obviously giving me my start in professional football. And who knows, if it wasn't for him taking me on loan up to Scotland, I might never have got to play for Newcastle. So I'm obviously forever grateful to him. And it was a massive shock, or a massive change, even in terms of dressing room. But like I said, from the first day I got there, I absolutely loved it. And I think the thing with me is I love when everything's competitive, and I love when you need to be at your best every single day, and that's what obviously Corky sort of put for every day, and I loved it. And like I said, it was the start of something, or start of sort of the building blocks to get me where I am today.
Brilliant. It was Brian, from my point of view as a manager, it was an easy situation to take someone like Sean, even though he was a young player without any first team experience. what I had to try and give him what he's purposely said, and he sets that out, and it's shown in his mindset was he knew that this was a road he had to take in terms of going out and experiencing first team football as quickly as possible if he wanted to achieve what he wanted to achieve in Newcastle. It's very difficult to break into a Premier League team in England at a very young age. You know, there's not many players do it. It's getting harder by the year. The academy's not just getting the best players from the country, they're getting them from around the world. So to be a young player and break in the team at a young age is proven harder. You know, it's far harder than when I was a player and I got into the team at Newcastle. Far, far harder. But he chose the right path. He came up, and what he done is he turned himself and he believed himself into a Kilmarnock player. He didn't think he was a Newcastle United player just on loan and he was always going to go back. He bought into what we're trying to do. And I played him and another loan player I had at the time, Christopher Asia from Celtic, who's getting rave reviews and talked about Leicester City, Real Madrid, that was a club linked. So the two midfield players I had in that time, the two youngsters, are now being talked about as over £100 million worth of talent. So it's not a bad thing for me.
No, definitely not, Clark. You know, and certainly a testimony to the guy that you are and certainly what you achieved as a manager too, Clark. And hopefully we'll soon see you back in the dugout in the not too
the good
distant
thing for
future.
me, Brian, the good thing for me was, as I said, Sean bought into being a Kilmarnock player with Freddie and Callum, who came up, the three of them, Callum Roberts and Freddie Woodman, and they behaved and they settled into the dressing room really, really quickly. The lads were good, but you sometimes get loan players who they just think that they're there for a short period and they don't really buy into the ethos or the group. But those three lads did, and the lads who were already there loved them, took to them quickly. They took to the lads, and I think that's what made it a great starting position for all three of the lads in terms of. And then obviously Sean took the next step in going to Blackpool, playing at a high level down here in England, was very, very successful there. Then for me, I knew within a couple of games of him playing that he was going to be a Newcastle United player, because not only was he very, very good technically, that I knew, and tactically, when I got to work with him closely, I knew he had the character to do it. When you play for a big club, in a club like Newcastle United, where the demands are huge by supporters, 52,000 week in, week out, no matter what position you're in the league, the demands are big. You don't just have to be a top player, you have to be a top character to handle that. And I knew within a couple of weeks of working with him that he had the characteristic as well as the ability to be a player for Newcastle. And he said it. He said he felt he deserved to be in the team, Newcastle United team, a lot earlier than he was given his opportunity. And I've been on record many times and was saying that he should have been given his chance earlier than he did. That wasn't to be, but he's took it with both hands, and that's credit to him. It's you can tell when someone's got the right abilities, but also the characteristics to play for a big club, and he certainly has all those.
Yeah, outstanding, Clarky. We'll take this, Stephen Trotter. Thanks for texting in tonight. My 9-year-old son is asking, both of you, did you get nervous when you make your debuts? Sean, he's a big fan of you and your brother Matty. If you want to start that off there, Sean, you answer that one, then Clarky, you can take it.
I think, to be honest, when I came on at Liverpool to make my debut, I think we were getting beat 3-1 at the time. So the game obviously was probably gone, but I remember the manager sort of telling us you're going to go on, and my stomach dropped. I felt like I was on a big roller coaster, but it was unbelievable, to be honest. And that day was amazing. And then I think Chelsea was the first time I'd probably stood in a tunnel and looked to my right and obviously had the likes of Eden Hazard and Willian and Jorginho and you name it. They were all there. David Luiz, I think, and it was just full of sort of Premier League legends, really, and top international players. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is it, really. This is the big time, and it's up to you now to show it. And I think walking out, the fireworks and the flamethrowers were going off at Stamford Bridge, and that was the most nervous I'd ever been for a football game. But to be honest, after 5 minutes, you make a pass or you make a tackle, and then it's just a game of football, and it's about backing yourself to to be good enough to play with them, unless they'll sort of run all over you and dominate you.
Brilliant. Clarky, yeah, you want to answer that one as well for Stephen there?
Mine was probably too long ago, Brian. Mine was September 1990. So, were you born then, Sean?
I'm 97.
Oh, well, I was coming towards my end of career when Sean was born. Listen, 1990, 17 years of age, and very similar to Sean. My first game was coming on as a substitute quite early in the game. For a player who played a lot of his time up in Scotland, ex-Aberdeen player Neil Simpson. He got injured, and I came on for him. Then the following week, made me full debut at St James's Park against West Brom. So, yeah, I mean, you do get the nerves. I was even getting the nerves in my last game at 35 years of age against Chelsea. So, I think it's the right thing to do. It means that you care about the game and you're ready for it. If the day that you were walking out onto the pitch and you didn't really feel any emotion, was probably the time that you needed to call it a day because you weren't up for the match. So, yeah, great times. We've both lived the dream of being young lads who've grew up in Newcastle and pulled on the famous black and white shirt and played in front of, magnificent crowd. And so it's always special for a local lad to play for its local club.
Yeah, no, just as you were talking there, Clark, I was thinking exactly that. You've been there, you've done it, Sean, your experience in doing it and everything that comes with it. And, it's just fantastic. And just even seeing how humble you are, Sean, I know what Clarky's like. I've got to know Clarky and just a top guy, and just seeing how, just level-headed you are, Sean. It's just absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of obviously messages coming through the feed tonight in terms of the possible takeover at Newcastle and how that could obviously affect the football club, that it could just completely propel them onto a different level. Obviously, if it does happen, which it looks imminent, possibly, Clarky, that it will happen. Decky Alistair's text in tonight. Hi, Sean and Lee. Sean, do you think it's unfair if fans overlooking Steve Bruce and not wanting to give him a chance if the takeover happens?
I think it is, to be honest. I think, to be honest, from the moment he came in China at the start of this season, he's been brilliant, to be honest. And there's obviously times where, for me personally, I've wanted to play and he's left me out, and I've obviously asked the question. He's been brutally honest with us, and that's what you need. And so I've got all the respect in the world for the manager. He's helped me massively in terms of having a mentality to be able to go out there every single week and not just do it one day in training or do for one game. He's drilled that into us, to be honest. And I think if you look at the team this year, we've been pretty successful. I think a lot of people wrote off at the start of the year, and like I said, I think it would be unfair if you didn't give him a chance to carry on the work he started to put in place.
Yeah.
I totally back Sean on that one, Brian. I think Steve deserves the opportunity if and when the takeover happens, that he's given the opportunity to get this so-called huge budget that they're going to then have on the playing side, and also the infrastructure, the training facilities improved both at the first team and academy. I think that's key, as well as the strengthening of the squad. And I think Steve deserves an opportunity to do that. I know him really well. We become very close when I was living down in Birmingham, and I was Birmingham City manager. We became neighbours, and he helped us a lot down there. And I've had his son as part of my squads in a couple of clubs that I've been at as well. And but that's not the reason I'm saying give him the chance. I think he come in and the backdrop of not being the choice the fans wanted, because they had a great respect and rapport with the previous manager, Rafa Benitez. So he was always working under that type of environment. A lot of pressure. It's massive pressure being manager in Newcastle United to start with, but knowing that a lot of the fans didn't really see him as being the manager there, and like Sean says, what he's got and what it looks like looking from the outside when you go to the matches, he's got the team playing really together. They work unbelievably hard. They've had some terrific results by sticking together, not being a dominant team always in terms of possession, but I think you've got to realise, the league you're playing in and the quality you come up against. But what they've done, they've stuck together and they've had some terrific results. And when they've had a setback early in the season, you know, they went to Leicester and got beat by a high score line. And it looked like Steve and the players had a good sit down in communication about that and responded brilliant. So I would like to see Steve given an opportunity to see if he can produce the goods that if and when the takeover happens, that these new owners will be looking for. Because I think when you're in a different environment and a different type of personnel you can go out and purchase, that gives everyone a lift. I mean, I think even the players will be looking and thinking, we want some help. We want some players that are going to raise the bar in the training sessions on a daily basis, but going to raise the bar in a match day. That's what happened with me and other local lads during the Keegan era when there was no transfer window, so we continued buying players on a monthly basis, and the players were getting better and better with each signing. We had to improve with them, or we were going to go out the door. So that's what happened. You raise your own standards, and what happens, you become a better player. It's if you're a good player, which Sean obviously is, and there's lots of good players in that dressing room now at Newcastle, if they start working with even better players, they'll become better players themselves. So I would imagine they'll be excited by this as well.
Because ultimately as well, Clark and Sean, it's the amount of times that, you know what I mean, that you see a change when realistically the amount of good English managers that there are, and it seems to be the owners just move them on, bring foreign managers in, and it doesn't always work. You know, we've seen that, you know, and the stability and consistency of the owners that maybe stick with a guy that's there ultimately achieves success.
I just think that Steve deserves the opportunity because of the great work that him and the players have achieved so far this season. I think everyone was talking about them, we're relegation fodder, we're going to be down with a certain number of games still to play, and that they haven't been that. They've never really, over the period of the season, possibly a week or two where they were in the bottom three, but they've always been a good distance from that and actually looking above themselves to try and break into the top 10, which has just eluded them on a couple of occasions.
Obviously, Sean, you know, you come through the academy and the system and the amount of talent that's coming into the Premier League now at the minute through the academies. Potentially now with COVID, where maybe the finances just might not be in the football clubs to maybe bring foreign players in. Surely that can only be a good thing for young talent in England. Someone like yourself who just came through and doing extremely well in the Premier League, that we're going to see more young talent given a chance, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be great, to be honest. I think there's a lot of good footballers at a lot of these Premier League clubs. I think, to be honest, a lot of it is probably about attitude and mentality. I know for me, the big thing that I wanted to make sure I was until I'd been in the first team or played so many games, I never really thought of myself as a first team player, to be honest. I mean, there's probably people with a bit more talent than me who obviously failed because they either thought they were getting ahead of themselves or whatever. But hopefully with this COVID sort of thing, that there'll be more young lads getting a chance. And I know at Newcastle for sure there's a lot of young lads coming through with a lot of ability and quality. So I think it would only be a good thing for the English game to have more young lads coming through and being able to play at the top level and being able to play alongside the top players as well.
Barry Longstaff and Lee Clark for next Toon manager. So Barry, thanks for that tonight. Which leads me on, Clarky, to the next one. Mark has actually texted in. Clarky, as a Huddersfield fan, thank you for the good times. We had great times there under you. And I'd love to see you back in the dugout. Obviously, you've already shared tonight, Clarky, that you have a passion to get back in. Mark's asking, do you still want to go on and be a football manager?
For the right opportunity, Brian. There's been one or two scenarios that I've taken on that have probably been not right, you know, went into bidding on league stuff and that certainly wasn't right for us. I'm a very ambitious man, so only if the right opportunity comes around now. You know, successful time at Kilmarnock, Huddersfield. You know, the Birmingham job was always tough, but I see that as a real success story on what we had to do there. I'm not saying never. There's been opportunities that I've turned down in various different positions in different football clubs. But, you know, let's see. I love it. I love the adrenaline rush. I love being there on a match day. But, you know, I've got to
it
just
needs to be the right thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Neil King, thanks for texting tonight. Sean, you can take this one. Who's been the best midfielder you've came up against so far? Thank you for that, Kingo.
To be honest, there's been a few. I think when we played away at Chelsea, Jorginho, who just like sits at the bottom of their little three, was unreal, to be honest. Hardly ever gave the ball away, but was always looking to sort of break lines or play forward passes, which is a big thing. You couldn't really get close to him because you sort of look at him, you think, oh, he can't really run great or he can't do whatever, but you put a ball at his feet and he's unbelievable. So I think Jorginho was one of the better ones. And then I think this year on Boxing Day when Paul Pogba came on I think he played 45 minutes, and I don't even know if he was fully fit, but he was like a man mountain, to be honest. I think there was a couple of times me and Matty were both trying to kick at his ankles, and he had me pressed away with one arm and Matty with the other arm. So for me, I think he's one of the best ones as well, them two that I mentioned. But I think for me, Pogba, just because of the sheer size of him, he's got power, he's got pace, he's got unbelievable quality with the ball, and it sort of makes us laugh when I see people sort of criticising him and stuff, because for me, he's probably the most complete midfielder in the world.
And obviously, Clarkey, centre midfielder, you know what I mean, yourself and the games that you played in. What, given where Sean is in his career now, and you've managed him and you've had a big influence in his career, obviously, what advice would you give Shawnee at the minute in terms of kicking on and ultimately establish himself as a Premier League footballer?
Listen, he doesn't need a lot of advice from me. I've known because I've worked with him. He's very level-headed. His younger brother's very much the same. That's probably instilled by their father, who was a very successful sportsman himself. So they know what it takes to be at the top. There's probably being drilled into them from young lads. They've got the right attitude already. And what I hear from them only just, makes that belief stronger. They've just got to keep focusing in on the job. The rest of it follows them. The success, the finances, that'll all come with it. They're doing what thousands of young Geordie lads would dream of being able to do, and that's play for Newcastle United in the best league in the world. And they've got the right attitude. They both have the possibilities of having magnificent careers in terms of potential of winning things. Who knows if and when this takeover happens, they could be part of a group of players that get an opportunity to bring that first elusive trophy to the football club for over 50 years. And that would be great. And, they don't need any more advice from myself. They just got to keep doing what they're doing. Don't change what they are, which is great local lads, fantastic ability, but they understand what professional sport's about, and that as quickly as you can go up and get to the top, you can quickly come tumbling down and lose yourself in the game if you don't do things right. And certainly being as close as I have been to Sean in terms of such a young lad, as I said to you earlier in the show, I knew he had that mentality and he had the discipline and the characteristics. There was no issues on that for me, and that just, I knew, coupled with his ability, that as long as he was given the right opportunity, that he would take it, and nothing's changed. It's got even stronger because, there's been, I've watched him very closely since he's been in the team at Newcastle, and obviously his younger brother Matty, who's come in, because on a couple of occasions when I've been back in Newcastle, it took some sessions. Matty's been involved and was a player that stood out in those. But I knew when I've watched them closely and I've seen them develop, I've seen them grow as people, as characters, not just players. I've seen them respond to in different performances. And like Sean said, there's been a couple of times this season he's been left out the team for various different reasons. What him and the manager, that'll remain private between those two. But then you see him respond to it. And all those things just say to me that they've both got magnificent careers ahead of them, and they don't have to change anything that they do, and whatever they do and they say has been instilled in them, and they've just got to continue with that.
Yeah. Sean, I'm obviously conscious of the time tonight, and but there has been a few questions coming in the feed regarding you and Matty. A unique situation, two brothers playing the Premier League. It has obviously happened before, but I assume that must be a good thing when if one of you is in and one of you is out, that you've got that sounding board of each other, and because you definitely on the outside appear to be incredibly tight for brothers, and I suppose going through the same training door every day just enhances that bond as brothers.
Yeah, it does. To be honest, I think Matty, it's funny to be honest, at the start of the season, just speaking about Matty, there's a couple of teams that were humming and hawing about taking him on loan and stuff, and it's funny to look back now, what it was probably 6 or 7 months later, and they're probably kicking themselves out they didn't get him out the door quicker. But for me, Matty's been amazing from the first day of pre-season, the start of this season when he came in, and we had a run to do in China, and him and another lad, Kel Watts, were the two fittest in the whole group. But he's been amazing. Every day in training, his quality, his attitude, he probably showed a lot of lads how to do it, to be honest. Especially at the start of the year when results weren't going our way, he came in and to be honest, gave the whole city a massive, massive lift when he scored against Man United. And like I said, but I see obviously off the pitch the sort of the work he puts in. He eats better than everyone else. He sleeps better than everyone else. He does more in the gym than everyone else. He's probably the best professional I've ever seen. And for him being 19 years old and my brother, he's someone I can sort of look up to still. And I'm obviously immensely proud of everything he's achieved, and I'm sure he'll go on to achieve much bigger and better things as well in the future.
Brotherly love, mate. Fantastic. Absolutely. Well, look, I wish both of you every success, Sean. Absolutely top drawer. Clarky, so Nia's text in. Ultimately, we can't do your best 11, but can you come with a quick fire your 5-a-side team? So obviously to see if you can maybe your best 5-a-side team. Who would be in it, Clarky? Starting a wee quick fire one because I don't want to keep this too long.
Edwin van der Sar being goal. I wouldn't probably have any defenders. I'd have Gaza, Paul Gascoigne, Shearer, Ginola, and
Gillespie not getting in there, no. Gillespie not getting in there. Gillespie not getting in there. He'll be on peppering your phone later on, mate.
Yeah, he will be. He will be. Beardsley'd have to be in there because he's up there. One of the best to wear the black and white shirt.
Brilliant. No, Lee's text in. Thanks for that, Lee. Look, that's a heck of a 5-a-side team, Clarky, to be fair. And again, a testament to the players that you played in and the year that you played in. It was top. Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure. Clarky, it's been a pleasure. Thank you immensely for you coming on tonight, for the time that you've given tonight. Sean, I wish you continue success at Newcastle United and your career. You're a humble guy, mate, and I wish you well.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Stay safe, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah, you too.
That man, Clarky, be in touch. Thank you very much indeed, guys. Take care. God bless. So, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back next week. And thank you again for pinging in all your questions or try to get through as many as we could. We will be back next week. Thank you very much indeed. Take care. Have a fantastic weekend. And we just like to thank again Dave, who's been operating the broadcasting system tonight. Without him, it wouldn't have happened tonight. So I just want to thank you for that. Take care. God bless. All the best.